lo secamos. Es secadora, como una secadora de ropa, pero estas son hechizas, pues. Son aparatos de hechizos, pero son de calidad. Y aquí queda el cristal, seco. Lo acetona es la última función que hace, que le quita esa impureza que le queda. Y ya es lo que voy a hacer, voy a meter la mano ahí para quitarle todos esos terrones, para que se lave bien. Lo que más me gusta, pues, va a ser cristal.
I've been fascinated by psychoactive drugs my whole life. I love to study their chemistry and impact on society. And my work has allowed me to investigate extraordinary substances around the world. Yet there are still mysteries that remain.
This lab's whole charter, in some ways, is to explore the unknown and to learn about something we couldn't see with our eye. X-rays exist on the electromagnetic spectrum in the angstrom region. I think only in angstroms. I can show you a good crystal for diffraction. That requires me to open the safe. We have very big crystals here. So we could make a crystal that's cut to size that would work well for a diffraction experiment. So I've got a shard. Nice. You want to look at them?
Sure.
The good-looking crystals give the best data. I love those things.
Wow.
Yeah, this is methamphetamine hydrochloride. That iridescent quality you're seeing on the crystal is called birefringence. I'll turn the polarizer, and you'll see some crystals are very bright, and if I rotate, light become dark, and the ones that were dark become light. That's one way we can assess crystal quality. And we'll mount it up. A nice single crystal. This little guy right here. Voila. Centered well enough. Now let's see what the diffraction looks like. Measure all of the spots, and then we'll try and get an idea of how big the unit cell is.
You could get so wrapped up in looking at the connectivity of atoms that from this position you forget everything about its cultural baggage and sort of the purest understanding of a substance you could possibly ask for.
I mean, I'm looking at these things just as they exist in a crystal.
Inanimate, valueless.
Yeah, it's not unlike Legos, Tinker Toys. So I'm going to open up the images right now that we just collected. This is the raw data. And you can say, okay, there's my sulfate, there's my amphetamine, and then your model of the crystal. There's many steps after this. This is just how well your model is fitting to the raw data.
Crystal methamphetamine has become so popular that you can simply call it crystal and people know what you're talking about. How does that make you feel as a crystallographer?
It's what you choose to do with that product, right? I mean, I just look at it for what it is. It's just the crystal.
So we got our brain slices incubating in solution of artificial cerebrospinal fluid. We're gonna take a slice.
What part of the brain is it from?
So it's a mouse slice. We have a little bit of cortex on the top and then mostly striatum. And then bring it over to the microscope. Okay. And then FFN, fluorescent false neurotransmitter, allows us to visualize pools of synaptic vesicles in actual brain tissue. Our fluorescent false neurotransmitter is pretty much mimicking dopamine. So wherever it goes, dopamine goes. We can infer from the release patterns of the FFN the release patterns of dopamine. The idea is that we could use it as a way of monitoring your dopaminergic health, better understand how amphetamine works in humans. You give someone this compound, it loads into their brain, you take the MRI, give them amphetamine, you can watch it release in real time as those two peaks kind of shift.
Wow. The diffusion from the synaptic vesicles into the cytosol is so gentle, so slow. It's really very relaxing.
Whoa. Who's that? Whoa. What was up?
Oh, this also has baking soda in it as well. It's very hard these days to find a pure chemical in any consumer product.
Yeah, the amount of fillers and just additives.
Do you think that's intentional because it makes it more difficult to people to use them for chemistry?
You wonder. No sparks or open flames in the kitchen. The main thing is I don't want any of you all to get hurt.
I appreciate that.
This is ammonia. Man, that smell.
It's a little rough on the eyeball.
Oh, yeah. Well, trying to find alternatives for ammonium nitrate. Ammonium chloride was an obvious one to do the same thing as the regular shake and bake.
I'm a little too scattered when I do it. It's almost like I'm so into everything at once that in order to focus on one project and in order to see it through to completion, it's almost too much dopamine. Even if you use meth a couple times, there's no such thing as a free lunch, right?
Oh wow, that's a really nice meth ring.
I know that I'm probably going to crash pretty hard in the next few days, but if you manage it, then I guess you can get back up.
Stuff's really irritating to breathe. Sodium carbonate. So it should warm up slow enough that my house doesn't explode.
As the temperature inside the fire extinguisher reaches 58 degrees Celsius, the ammonium carbonate decomposes into water, carbon dioxide, and ammonia, which dissolves in the starting fluid.
So I can release some of the gas and smell it to see if it is making ammonia at all.
What are you about to do?
Wait, why are you opening it?
I'm gonna just release a little puff of ammonia. I can't. No, y'all are gonna die. Can't.
Are you all right?
My eyes. Yeah.
Here, go to the bathroom here. Let me lead you to the bathroom so you can wash your hands.
Did meth have something to do with the problems in your marriage?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, she was always against it, always hated it when I made meth.
Heimlich removes the lithium anode from 2 AA batteries and submerges them in isopropanol. Now, with the ammonia in solution, Heimlich opens the valve assembly and introduces the crushed pseudoephedrine tablets and lithium foil, which serenely floats on the surface of the ammoniated ether. The fire extinguisher is cooled to room temperature and plunged into an ice bucket. The smallest of all possible anions, a naked electron, is swept from the lithium and cradled in a shell of ammonia molecules, absorbing red light and reflecting an otherworldly blue. Attack of a solvated electron forms a radical anion that stabilizes the loss of hydroxide to produce an electron-deficient benzylic radical that accepts another solvated electron to yield a benzylic carbanion that abstracts a proton from ammonia, forming an enantiopure S-methamphetamine. But this likely didn't occur because Heimlich was short on focus and fatigued.
Seems like there's a lot of irony in psychopharmacology in general. People that take opiates or opioids end up crippled by pain. People that take benzodiazepines end up overwhelmed by anxiety and insomnia. And people that take stimulants end up tired and unmotivated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tired and unmotivated. Yeah.
What do you think it is?
Who knows?
I don't mean to sound harsh, but I'm amazed that you've ever succeeded in doing this.
Just a bunch of bullshit in there, yeah. Yeah, well, I guess I see what happens with just disarray. Like, especially watching myself just not really have the diligence that I should. I don't feel as a person that this drug has, like, torn my life apart or anything. The perception is that it doesn't matter if you quit, you're just crazy now because you were or are a meth head. And that is not correct.
It don't matter how many people we get packed in this place. If we don't have the Spirit of God in this place, we're not accomplishing anything. But Jesus will break the bonds and the chains. I'm a living proof that God can take a man that's bound up in addiction and set them free. Hallelujah.
Do you think that's the only way to conquer these sorts of addictions, by replacing them with a different, less destructive addiction?
You could be addicted to him. I'm addicted to him. I'm in love with him.
You have a craving for Christ in the way that you once did for psychoactive drugs.
Absolutely. I crave him.
Guys, a little over 10 years ago, you wouldn't have caught me in this church house or any other church house. Having come from meth to mayor, come on. You know, I went through high school, I graduated, I went and served my country, I came back, I got married, I started a family, we had a trucking company, things were going good. And you know, the devil has no prejudice. He'll come and get you wherever you're at. You see, I was weak, and the devil said, well, there's a weak one. And then I got introduced, of all things, it was crystal meth. It wasn't uncommon for bosses to include meth in their drivers' paychecks to keep them going. And I thought, man, now I can really work. And I went from using to work to working to use. And it grew and it grew and it grew. You know, I had lost everything that I had, and yet I was still thinking that if I could just use, I'll get it back. August the 16th of 2009, Mr. Collins, you're having a heart attack. Yeah, I don't know what happened after that. Things just went away. The doctor had turned and told the woman, let's get the paperwork. We're fixing to cash this man's chips in. He's dead. But see, it wasn't his choice. God said there's going to be life. He put life back through the doctor's hand. He put the numbers back on the board. It wasn't Jeff. It wasn't the doctor. It was all God. You see, when I woke up, I didn't know what it felt like to be an addict. I don't have that desire. My life has done changed, and I'm going to help people I have seen trying to quit, the people I had seen struggling, the ones that are fighting. If I have to hurt their feelings and make them cry, I can't fix you, but I know somebody that can. Now I'm hooked, guys. Now I've got a new addiction. If you want to know the God that I'm talking about, if you don't know this God, come forward right now. Don't be afraid to come to these altars, guys. You've come a long way. Yeah, a long way.
I thought one of the most interesting things about your sermon today was that you talked about replacing your addiction to methamphetamine with an addiction to God.
Yeah, man. You just got to go to God.
Ever since I laid that down and he delivered me, I've not had a craving. I mean, he healed that part of me.
I was delivered from a 20-year drug addiction, no desire, no trigger, no nothing.
Can you overdose on God?
I can have as much God as I want. Anybody can. And if I want all of him that I can get, then I can have him, but most people don't want that.
I get high off the Holy Spirit, not like high like as a substance high, but it's the power from heaven that manifests itself on the inside of me. Just try Jesus, man.
And what advice would you have for people that are atheists or they struggle to believe in a higher power, but they're also struggling with addiction?
If they're struggling believing in God, it's not so much that they don't believe in God, but why don't they believe in God?
Probably evidence-based thinking.
They will believe. They were created to believe.
The drug is one of the best tools that Satan could have, because just anybody without any type of chemist background or anything, and even the average Joe could figure it out.
Everybody was cooking meth just all over the place. You know, I had one buddy that had a four-wheeler set up that he was cooking meth on. He'd just drive out in the middle of a field somewhere and do it. It was so readily available at that time because you could go to Walmart and buy these pills or go to a gas station and buy the pills to make it with. And now that you can't do that. It's a different monster now. Everything's pretty much brought in, I think.
Yeah, it used to be in every household. And the high lasts longer than most other drugs.
Have you ever cooked meth?
Yes. I stopped cooking 17 years ago. I'm not proud of it, but it was money in my pocket, and it kept me high. You know.
I had a friend that cooked that was good at it, and I was his gopher. I would run and gather the supplies, and how happy we were that we had done it ourselves. We didn't have to go buy none. And I watched my friends, he got to where he were getting so high, not off the drug and not off the fumes, watching it cook. And his words were, "I'm so addicted to cooking."
The three main ingredients is iodine, ephedrine, and
red phosphorus matches.
Red phosphorus, there you go. Matches, yeah. Yeah, batteries, fertilizer, liquid fire, Drano.
Camp fuel, gas and hose, Yoo-hoo bottle.
Rock salt.
Rock salt.
Hose.
How much more we need to go?
Come on.
Do you think that's also a sort of addiction, the chemistry?
Yeah. Yeah. But, only the strong survives. And I'm still here today. And how long I got on here, it's up to him. It's in his hands. Can't get no higher than this. Okay, I'm a dopey dude. Amen?
I'm a firm believer that I had been took to the gates of hell. I wanted to know what hell was so bad that I believe I was shown.
I like my meth. I've had a taste for that stuff since the late 1970s. The Pied Piper of meth, they called me. These little children down the path.
I do believe it's a tool for Satan.
The molecule itself has some kind of satanic component.
Thank you, God, for this opportunity. Right now, Lord, we know that nothing is a mistake, Father, that you have the plans laid out.
The thing I like about meth is it makes you more than what you generally are. Done properly, it adds to your life rather than detracts from it. A little bit with my morning coffee and I'm out the door, and the man gets more than his paycheck worth every day out of me. It gives you courage. And you can do it day after day after day after day if you don't do too much, just a little bit, which is what I do.
The first step of Fester's synthesis is the oxidation of toluene. Lead electrodes are immersed in an aqueous manganese ammonium sulfate solution. and a rectifier is used to maintain a constant current.
Power this puppy up.
Current flows through the solution, and the manganese salts are converted from the +2 to the +3 oxidation state.
Yeah, there's scientific measurement for you. It's sort of like the way I cook my meals, you know? It's a dash of this and a blob of that.
The manganic ammonium sulfate affects a cascade of 1-electron oxidations of toluene, beginning with a benzyl radical, followed by a phenylcarbenium ion that undergoes nucleophilic attack by water, forming benzyl alcohol, a benzyl oxyl radical, and finally the product, benzaldehyde.
Oh, there's definitely a cherry smell in there now, so it's time to add more toluene.
What kind of person were you when you first cooked meth?
Oh, I was a young guy in my early 20s. Still in college. My major was chemistry, which is where I obtained my glassware. Oh, well, I broke another piece there, Prof. Actually, it wasn't broken. It was just stuffed in my backpack and going home with me, you see. Yes.
And so you decided that you were going to synthesize methamphetamine.
Yep. And my roommates at the time said, "You're not going to be doing it here, goddammit, because we don't want to be sharing a prison cell with you."
Encouraged by the characteristic cherry almond tang of benzaldehyde, Faster extracts the crude reaction mix with toluene.
Should I be using a funnel for this? Huh, you're damn right.
And treats the extract with an aqueous solution of sodium bisulfite, hoping to observe the formation of an insoluble bisulfite adduct.
Moment of truth.
Yes. Well, I tell you, it doesn't look like I'm getting anything at the moment.
No adduct is formed.
I'm pissed. It is a very rich field. There's so many ways to come at it. I'm coming at it through a pretty roundabout route here right now because that's all you can do when you're pulling stuff off the shelf. The simple and direct ones have all been pretty much dried up, or you have to show IDs and sign a confession.
What did your parents think of what you did?
Oh, this is bad, Steve, bad. You weren't taught to do bad things by us, Steve. I go, Mom, it's not bad. It's just my interest in the sciences, that's all. Given time and the freedom to operate, I produce a very high quality material. Back when I got busted, one of their big things that they bitched to the judge about, and the stuff he was producing was 98% pure. He's a menace. Yeah, I'm not sure who it was who said that it's the dose that makes the poison.
Paracelsus.
Really?
Yes.
All right, words of wisdom.
What did you do while you were in prison?
Write books. Write books and work out. You gotta keep in shape, you know.
You got arrested and you got angry at the government because they locked you in a cage and you wanted to get revenge.
Uh-huh, and I knew just the perfect way to do it by training an army of people to take my place doing the stuff while I wrote about it.
How long were you in prison?
I did 3.5 on a 5-year bit. Then they paroled me. What was the first thing I did when I got out of jail? Forbidden knowledge. Yeah, and that makes it attractive. The things that you're not supposed to learn about.
You've tuned into Cooking Meth with Uncle Fester. First thing we gotta do is grind these puppies up. Stop it. Handshake. There's nothing like crank. Love crank.
What would you write if you got to retire tomorrow?
Number one, there'd be a new version of my Cook and Crank with Uncle Fester video, updated with what materials you can obtain on hardware store shelves now.
What if this is the new version?
All right. The devil will make his appearance. All right, day job first. Pick up some tubing, too, at the hardware store. Now, seatbelts are optional. Not gonna be much traffic for the next several hours because it's game day. Oh, I need some gas.
Fester is going into his electroplating day job to get iron powder. You know that cops call amphetamine chemists bad guys?
They're in search of bad guys is what my opinion is on that one. Yes, they have to beat the bush to find bad guys who should focus their attention on the real menaces out there, yes.
The cops always say that it's so easy.
Yes, they do, don't they?
Why do they say that?
In order to denigrate people who are able to do it.
But they probably can't do it themselves.
They can't do it themselves either. Although there was a day when it was so damnably simple, it was just a matter of just grinding up pills, tossing them into a pot of liquid ammonia, and throwing some lithium in along with it, and away you go.
There's our product. Let the snorting begin. Party time.
I'll run in here, I'll grab my stuff.
You can show rape and murder on television. You can show poisoning and violence. But you show a little chemistry, and people say you can't do that.
Yes.
You have to skip a step.
Right. Extra fine.
Because if you showed the whole thing, then somebody might repeat that chemistry. And that would be terrible.
No, I don't think it'd be so terrible in the first place. And secondly, it's not the very, very easy task that some people might have led them to believe that it is. Well, there you go.
Out of 10?
Come on, give me radio. Damn your ass. I don't want Bluetooth nor aux either. Come on, how about radio? All right, 7 to 3.
It's a nice day in Green Bay, and we've got some veterans coming off the bench for the first time all season.
Faster begins his synthesis of nitroethane with the drying of ethanol from grain alcohol. A volumetric flask is charged with 1 liter of 95% ethanol, insulated with aluminum foil, and heated. Methylethyl ketone is added to entrained water in a positive azeotrope, allowing it to be distilled from the ethanol.
She's distilling it.
First down.
93% sulfuric acid is poured into a stoichiometric excess of dry ethanol and gently boiled. Sulfuric acid protonates ethanol's oxygen, forming an ethyl oxonium ion that participates in an SN2 reaction. The oxonium leaves as water, and the sulfate attacks a carbon, producing ethyl sulfate, but the rapid addition of sulfuric acid and high temperature allows subsequent SN2 reactions that form diethyl ether, which boils from the reaction mix, and the probable human carcinogen, diethyl sulfate, a menacing side product recognizable by its wintergreen aroma.
Green Bay's DNA just got alkylated.
The deep red crude ethyl sulfate is removed from the hot plate and poured over ice.
All right, now I can start adding my powdered limestone.
Oh, got the ice cream scoop.
That's exactly what it is.
An unknown quantity of ethyl sulfate is treated with an unmeasured quantity of calcium carbonate, which deprotonates the sulfate group, forming the water-soluble salt calcium ethyl sulfate. The mixture is passed through a filter bag to remove excess calcium carbonate.
Squeezing it out.
I don't know how to describe the smell. I'm tempted to say wintergreen.
I've worked in the electroplating industry for 27 years now, so my sense of smell is not particularly acute.
The filtered aqueous calcium ethyl sulfate is treated with an aqueous solution of sodium carbonate, forming sodium ethyl sulfate. The cation exchange is visually monitored by the precipitation of insoluble calcium carbonate, which settles to the bottom of the bucket. 25 grams of potassium carbonate, an unknown quantity of aqueous sodium ethyl sulfate, and 300 grams of sodium nitrite are added to a round-bottom flask, followed by a dash of tropical coconut shampoo.
Acetyl alcohol is the anti-foaming ingredient that I want. All right, and just let that sit on the stove for the time being.
Great pass.
The mixture is heated to 130 degrees Celsius and begins to bubble. Lone pair electrons on sodium nitrite's nitrogen attack the electrophilic carbon in an SN2 reaction, forming sodium sulfate and nitroethane, which boils from the reaction mix.
That's what we got.
After the failure of his electrolytic oxidation, Fester opts to distill benzaldehyde from an almond baking emulsion. The presumed benzaldehyde distillate is extracted with toluene in a SEP funnel and transferred to a round-bottom flask. To this is added 100 milliliters of nitroethane and 50 milliliters of ethylene diamine.
Steve, don't you weigh anything out?
The flask is heated on a stove, and the Henry reaction is left to run overnight.
Have you done this reaction before?
Never. Well, that was piss poor. Yo. What's up, child? No, you're not coming over. Yeah, no, you're not going to get everybody sick. You keep your disease germs to yourself. Yes, you are. Bye-bye. It's my daughter. She wants to come over. She's a dangerous person.
After sitting in the freezer overnight, a solid precipitate, which is assumed to be phenyl-2-nitropropene, is observed at the bottom of the flask. Fester stuffs the flask with steel wool to suspend iron filings, adds hydrochloric acid, and heats the mixture in a water bath. The reaction begins with an iron reduction of the alkene, producing the nitroalkane, which then undergoes a Neff reaction. The nitronate tautomer is protonated to a nitronic acid, and the aminium carbon of the protonated nitronic acid is subject to nucleophilic attack by water, forming an unstable intermediate that loses oxonium to form the nitrosophenylpropanol. Elimination of nitroxyl forms nitrous oxide and P2P, which, after base neutralization, is distilled directly from the reaction mix.
Score!
A 1-liter volumetric flask is packed with aluminum foil using a lignocellulose tamping apparatus.
Ramrod to jam it in. Nothing but a baby spoon will do.
The aluminum is amalgamated with an unmeasured quantity of aqueous mercury nitrate. You know mercury nitrate poisoning is where the term mad as a hatter comes from.
That person who's addicted to this stuff, you know? I mean, if he doesn't have it, he's fiending and he's a junkie. It just made them all sloppy and this sort of stuff, you know, and they're drooling and licking peanut butter out of each other's cracks and that sort of stuff. And I go, that doesn't sound all that hot to me.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It seems like you'd like that kind of thing.
What, drooling?
Depraved sexual activity.
Well, yeah. So it's time to get ready to rock and roll here.
Unmeasured volumes of isopropanol and nitromethane-based fuel are added to the amalgam. The reduction begins immediately, and the flask is transferred to a stovetop. A hose is used to direct the gaseous methylamine freebase into the flask containing P2P, forming an imine.
There we go, methylamine gas getting piped on in there. There's some methylamine for you. Drink up.
Methylamine freebase?
That is correct.
What do you think about opening a couple of these windows? Do you think?
Go for it. Methylamine is fun and easy to make. I recommend it as a playtime for children everywhere.
Are you concerned about the mercury nitrate on your toilet?
I'll take care of that in a bit.
There is poisonous residue all over this house.
Green Bay is not reducing that imine anytime soon.
One imine reduction away from methamphetamine, Vester interrupts his synthesis out of a deeply held respect for federal law. So this is chemistry interruptus.
Yes, we came just about that close to coming. Just about, and then it's time to pull out. It was my pleasure.
Given all this difficulty, do you think it's worth it?
It's worth it for the knowledge for me, more than, well, maybe a quarter pound of product coming out the end, you know? Because you know what they're selling ounces for these days? Well, it's nowhere near as good as the product I'd be cooking, but still, ounces are going for like $700 an ounce, and that's in Green Bay. If you get closer to the border, it's even less. All right, well, I'm good to go.
Did you tell your children not to use methamphetamine?
I didn't have to worry about it at the time because there had been none available. It wasn't until the Mexicans started turning it out by the ton there south of the border and flooding the country. That's like at every street corner, it's everywhere. And that didn't show up here in Green Bay until maybe 3 years ago or so. By that time, well, let's see, they were adults and so was I.
How have the book sales been?
Not like the 90s. You know, the 90s, they were the heydays for underground press and all that good stuff there. Now people have free stuff they can read on the internet.
And if somebody says that you were committing a crime on television, what will your defense be?
Well, you know, it's hard to do proper analysis on materials just by looking through a TV screen, would be my defense.
So it could all be fake?
It could possibly be, although I've done my damnedest to make this genuine from start to finish. Yes, that would be my defense. I was watching TV last night and I saw 3 people murdered at least, and none of the actors playing those roles are facing charges today. So why are you picking me out? There are these other potential perpetrators that you're just plain ignoring.
Well, sure, you're an excellent actor.
You think so, huh?
I do.
Well, thank you much. My people are the small-time operators who don't produce a lot and take care of their friends and themselves and maybe make a few bucks on the side. I don't consider them to be a menace to anybody. Well, hell, just working with stuff off the hardware store shelves. I got this thing here running here, and I know that if I practice at the various ins and outs of what these materials are like and what tricks they hold in them, I'd be able to punch right through them and I could go into production no problemo. But given the continually lowering price on that stuff, it's like...
Do you feel bad about putting mom and pop meth cooks out of business?